welcome to the Monday Night Call. And we've been getting some fantastic people on lately, and I've been really digging into the Rolodex to find people that can help the audience and our network with things that are practical, things that we can use immediately. And I haven't been finding people that are, full of hot air, and tonight is no different. I've found someone, because right now, who believes that it would be great to have some more money in your life? I think everyone would agree that more money would be helpful, because, if we get more money, we can do things like help our family, help our parents, help ourselves, help our kids, have more choice. And so many times there's just some stuff that we've been brought up with that can hold us back. And I think we can get a lot of misinformation out there because there's a lot of charlatans out there. Well, I've got a great mate. His name's Marty, Marty Vids. And not only is he an expert podcaster, but for a majority of his career, he's been handling money and helping people get their dreams sooner than you ever could believe is possible. And that's why I thought it'd be great to get him on here and introduce him to you. He's got this amazing new business. He's part of the Inovayt group. And, I just wanted to pass that on at the start. If you want to find him, that's where you're going to find him. But if you have any questions, he's the guy with the wealth knowledge that's going to be able to help you with anything to do with money. He's involved with mortgages, insurance, financial planning, you name it. This guy's done it, and he's here to help you. He's so generous with his time. Marty, just take it away, man. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I think that's money's always such an interesting topic because people have certain emotions around it, but ultimately it's a skill and we use it every day. So it's a skill well worth learning. For me, it's always been I've always been on the practical side of money with, like you said, mortgages. Now we have financial planning. I always think the numbers tell a story. So I think you want to make it a good one. And yeah, it's just, I've dealt with thousands and thousands of people and millions of dollars of lending and all types of things. And I think the common traits are, even in business, what I see is people sometimes get emotional about an idea and they get really excited about the idea. They want to get it out to market, but they just don't understand the numbers and the dynamics of the numbers in the business. Because when you know your numbers, you can make really good decisions off those numbers as well. And so often that's where people fall down. They're either really good on numbers and not creative enough, or they're really creative and just let the numbers slip to the side because it's so boring. But I would say, you can really be enthusiastic about numbers in a way to grow businesses, to grow people. Even when you look at statistics of, when you want people to perform, there are certain activities that are going to get a certain result. And for me, when I build businesses, I always set up an umbrella of what the expectation of the business is. And it's usually an extended goal. It'll be usually 3 times to whatever the industry average is, because I always think we can do 3 times if we're doing it well, right? And then it's a matter of going, okay, well, to get to that goal, how does each individual contribute to achieving that goal within the culture of the business, within where their strengths are in the business? And they know those statistics. And then it's all about developing the human being to enable them to trend incrementally towards those goals. Because you could scare the living daylights out of someone saying, let's say, for instance, I want you to get $4 million a month in mortgages, but they've only ever done 500 grand a month in their lifetime. So that could put someone into a place of hopelessness. I'm not good enough. But if you set the umbrella to go, this is what we're working towards as a vision and a goal, and we set a deadline around it, and it might be further off in the distance depending on where they're at. We talk about the behaviors, the actions in order to start incrementally getting towards the goal. And then you're just looking for trend. Trend is your friend. And it's just a matter of, can we improve individually? And then as a collective, can we improve? and then it's a matter of seeing the results increase over time, and that's done through numbers. Yet there's a very human element to the development of the person within those numbers. So that's what I've always been really good on with people, even when they want to have a mortgage. Like most people go, okay, you can get a great interest rate, but what's your plan around decreasing debt? $500, a fortnight on a 500 grand loan could save you like 80 grand over the journey. And it's a matter of knowing your budget, knowing your expenses, and having that surplus income work for you. And some people say to me, wealthy people, they're full of themselves. And well, I think money makes you more of what you already are. Like, if you're a butthole, like when you started and you got money, you're going to be a bigger pain in the backside. And if you're a nice person when you start, I think it just makes you more of that. And like Joel was saying, you can give to family, friends, and you can do more good in the world. It all comes back from personal intention and integrity. And so I don't look at the emotions of money. I look at the skill set and go, how can I utilize the numbers to work in a way where everyone wins? And that's what I've always been about. But I've done everything from mortgages to building businesses, and loved every part of the process. But people are always at the core, but numbers gives us a blueprint, and it's easy to understand because there's no story, there's no like emotional baggage with numbers, and I really like that. So yeah, that's a little bit of insight to how I think about it. So I'm not sure if that helps, Joel, but yeah, it gives you a little bit of background.
Sweet. We've already got a question.
Good.
If you are making less money in your business and spending more in building it, is it worth doing taxes when it's under the threshold?
I would. So you say the question again, just so I've got it right.
So it sounds like she's making less money than what she's spending to build the business. So is it still worth doing the taxes when it's under the threshold? So.
Well, you're not going to get charged. You're not really going to get charged. If you're spending more than what you're earning, I mean, that's probably an accountancy question. But I would be thinking that you're not going to be paying tax in that situation if, depending on how much you're earning. So I would be thinking that the question that comes up for me is that because you're very much at the start of your business journey? Because again, what I'd be encouraging you to do is to look for ways to be able to obviously make more than you're spending. And what's getting in the way of that? Is it purely just the fact that you're starting and we've got to invest in order to create, or is that something that because I don't think you would be paying tax if if you have that many expenses in the business, from my understanding anyway.
So I'm going to ask a few financial questions that have been coming up because I've been doing a lot of work with clients around this. And so let's just start with, mortgages at the moment. For anyone that's got a house or has a friend that's got a house, and what do they do now? Because I hear that the financial markets are going crazy and everything like that. Is now a good time to go in and have another chat to the bank? And if so, how would they do that?
Yeah, the first thing you do is ring your existing bank to see what they can do for you in regards to interest rate. So that's the first point of conversation, because you might find you might get a 0.5% discount just by making that phone call, which makes a difference. The other thing, and it depends, if you're in hardship in this time, there are options at the moment where you can defer your payments for up to 6 months, but I would only ever take that if you are in real hardship. So if you've lost a job and you need to hold as much money as you can in order to survive, because on the back end, it's going to be worse when they actually renegotiate the term, and then you've got to pay more. So it's sometimes hard to get out of hardship once you're in it. So at the very minimum, I'd be going back to your bank and paying at least the interest off the loan for if you're struggling at first, and if it gets really bad, then you go into hardship. But there's also opportunities at the moment in refinancing, because the banks are basically buying business, because they, coming out of the Royal Commission, they didn't do so well, and they're to blame for that, right? So it's like now they're actually buying business and offering great opportunities in the market. So I know one of the banks there is like 2.29 on a 2-year fixed, and they're giving $4,000 cash back in order to get your business. So it's like, and there are pros and cons, you know, fixed rates. People always say the market, the fixed rates are built into the market, and they are, but this is like as low as I have ever seen the rates. And really, the Reserve Bank might have one more rate cut in them. However, I don't think they will. I think they'll go on to other stimulus type actions rather than cutting rates further. So if ever you were going to get some consolidation and comfort and certainty over the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years, you know, a fixed rate is a good option. You can only make, depending on which lender, but some lenders you can only make 5,000 of additional repayments into that loan for the year. Some lenders you can do up to 10,000 over the fixed rate term. So you have to watch that in case you've got an influx of extra money coming in as to where you put that. But in that situation, you might do, let's say you have a 450 grand loan, you might do 50 grand on a variable loan and the rest fixed. And basically you can pay that 50 grand off in the next couple of years without penalties. So they're the sort of things you can do. Definitely shop the market. As an investor, it's incredible how many investors still have properties that are at 3.9%, 4%. Again, on a 2-year fixed at the moment, 2.69 for interest only. I saved someone 24 grand a year the other day, had about 6 properties, and you know, that's big money. That's like rent for the year on one of those properties. So and the cash back as well, like $4,000 cash back. So that gentleman was really, really happy. So they're the types of things that you can do at the moment. I saw a question there in regards to offset accounts. Offset accounts are really interesting, because offset, if you don't know, if you've got a $100,000 loan and you've got $100,000 of credit in your offset accounts, just a savings account that offsets the loan, you don't pay any interest, right? So it's dollar for dollar. And it's the fascinating thing about offset accounts is over 25 years of writing mortgages, so many people have wanted an offset account. But what happens is they're like spending everything in the offset account. Now, it's still a benefit when you've got money sitting in there, but so many people are poor budgeters that they're not maximizing the actual benefits of the offset account. So in 80% of the situations, you generally find people coming out of an offset account, going onto a really simple product and just making an additional repayment a fortnight. And again, it's that consistency of that money coming out without people even recognizing it that makes a real impact to deleverage debt and create wealth. If you're a great budgeter and you have surplus income, absolutely an offset can be invaluable. But if you're not so great on the budget and you're not looking at the specifics, you're better to go, all right, I'm making an extra $200 a fortnight into my mortgage. I'm doing that consistently. And then you can blueprint so you know exactly where you stand and what the impact of that money is going to do for you. Some people just find that more easy, and then whatever they have in the account, they just, you know, they spend. But look, in a perfect world, you put your living expenses on your credit card, which is interest free for 30 days, and then at the end of the 30 days, you sweep the credit card back to nil on the offset account, and then, you know, you're maximizing that time of that money going up against the mortgage, and it can save you thousands of dollars. But guess what ends up happening? people spend too much on the credit card, and then they don't sweep the credit card fully. Then they get hit with 18% on that. Then you have to refinance everything. So I was a massive advocate for the offset account because I knew the power of it if it worked well for the person. But now I have to really, probably from 10 years ago, I was really specific on it. I said, show me your budget, show me your surplus cash. How do you do your banking at the moment? Do you make your purchases on credit card? Do you sweep that card? So really being specific to that individual situation, because you just want to put people in the best situation for what they do already, because we're habitual creatures and a lot of people don't change habits. So I'm looking at what's the habit that they're doing and how can I utilize what they're doing to best effect to save them money on the mortgage. So I changed my tack probably 10 years ago on that because I had this whiz-bag system and probably 1 out of 10 people were using it effectively and we ended up at the same place. So, and then they redraw the money that they've put in and it's like, ends up, like I said, sometimes it's just better to keep it simple and people know exactly what it's going to be. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Amazing. And so I think you answered the question, what is a good way to utilize the offset account to the maximum? I think you just answered that.
Yeah. Credit card. Yep. Credit card. 28 days interest free, 30 days interest free. It sweeps the living expenses out of the offset every month. That money that stays in the offset is dollar for dollar offsetting the debt. You still make your fortnightly repayment coming out. And then, and what I would say is whatever's left over into the offset at the end of the month after you've swept your credit card, put it into the redraw of the loan so you don't see it and start again. Because that way you're less tempted to use the money if it's actually in the loan as opposed to if it's sitting in the savings account, unless you have multiple offsets, which you can do as well. So, yeah, how exciting. Someone getting excited about multiple offset accounts. That's crazy.
Amazing. So like I had a question and Sarah's come up with a similar question. So like I was just like rent versus buy and in the current climate. And Sarah's asked, what do you recommend for renters who don't own yet? How would you go about being a smarter renter so you can eventually own?
Well, your first house doesn't necessarily have to be the dream home. So I would say, and particularly now in the next couple of years, I think the market's going to be pretty slow, just given everything that's going on. Without saying what's going on, yes, I can say it, Corona. But I think the next couple of years is going to be, pretty sluggish. So maybe it's an idea to get into the market and you might buy an investment property and then, at a lower price, but then utilize that offset strategy, build equity by reducing debt. And, because again, you can't always predict what the market's going to do. Over time, definitely property is going to go up. It always has. But the real way to build wealth is to bring down debt. Now, if you have an offset account against that property, a good way to use the offset here is to actually put it in the offset account, put the money in the offset account, build up the offset account as much as you can, because what will happen then is not only if property goes up, you can use the equity that you have in that investment property to buy your home, but you can then take all the money you have out of the offset account and use that as a deposit over here and then claim the full tax deduction on the investment property as well. And that's an interesting way we have investors getting into the market by saying, okay, this is not my dream home now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to build wealth through property, and they buy something for a lesser value. They really work hard on paying down debt. Equity grows because they're creating equity, and then they take that money out of the offset account and then put it into the home loan. They might borrow a little bit more equity out of the investment as well for the deposit on their home loan, but they still have then the whole debt that they can claim on that investment property. So I see that time and time again. So that's an interesting way to go about it. to get into the market, to use property to leverage into that dream home. Otherwise, the bank of mum and dad, if you want to get in earlier, they can do what's called a limited guarantee, where they will fund, you'll fund it, but they'll provide a guarantee for the 20% deposit to avoid mortgage insurance and the stamps. And then basically, from there, it's, you're in the market. And then once the property goes up and you reduce debt, you basically can, you can free them up. So, yeah.
Mate, amazing answers. I'm loving this. Okay, so Christine says she's renting in the country and she has an investment property in the Gold Coast. Are we better off paying it off first before getting the next investment property? Or are we better off having some debt?
If you've got to, depends what you really want at the end of the day. If it's to utilise to buy your own home eventually, then I would say utilise that type of offset strategy. If you just want to build a portfolio and you're happy renting, because I know in the country you can, you're renting at a much better rate of, like, I don't know personally what you're on, but you can get a really nice house and live where you want to live and be where you want to be, and just keep leveraging the investment properties to develop more investment properties. So it really comes down to a personal choice, but I quite like that idea. Some of the wealthiest, I have a lady by the name of Wendy.
Sorry, Joel.
She has 18 properties, and she has 18 properties, and she rents the house where she wants to live, exactly where she wants to live. She can be nimble. She can change that if she wants. But her whole strategy is to just continue to build investment properties. So, I don't mind. Again, it comes down to personal circumstances to what you want and facilitating that. But if you were to use the equity to get another investment property and keep building your wealth, then that's just as good a strategy. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm seeing some tax questions here, and I think that's more of an accounting question. Would I be right, Marty? There?
Yeah, it will be. But look, I can try and answer them from my own investor experience. So if it's, but it might just mean I have to put a little signature point.
It's just a really easy question to ask your accountant. What I'm seeing here, but it's like stuff like, do we need to submit a tax return under 30K earnings? Is it a requirement by law?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that answer. As to whether it is or not. So you'd have to check with an accountant on that.
What I do with my clients is the first port of call I take my business clients, anyone, is to a good accountant.
Yeah.
They're straight to a good accountant. They will change your life, and you'll think they're expensive, but they aren't in the long run.
No, they're good strategists on that type of stuff. That tax accounting, what I pay is worth like so much to me. It's ridiculous. It's get a great accountant. That is a great piece of advice.
Yeah. Okay. So if you are on a pension, what's the best way to save for your future needs?
What type of pension?
Justine?
Like, is it
I don't know. Disability.
Is there any surplus? Is there any surplus at the end of after your living costs? Is there any surplus available? Because I think that's a really
Yes, there is.
Okay. So again, an individual situation. If the disability pension is consistent, the banks will consider it, depending obviously on how much it is and what it's relating to. They like it to be a second income, which is, I think, wrong. So sometimes when there's a disability pension with another applicant who's part-time or full-time, then they will accept that. Sometimes it's harder for the banks to lend in regards to just the straight disability pension. And I'm not sure why that is. I think it's just policy mumbo jumbo. In regards to saving, I would say you want to be talking to a good financial planner. I think that if you have surplus income, it depends if you want to get into property or you just want to build wealth. But I would be chatting to a really good financial plan. Like we have probably 4 or 5 at Inovayt, just to get an insight as to going, okay, what's my regular plan? What's my, because again, the share market, I just have this feeling that there's another wave of it coming down. And I think there'll be some really good buying options, in the next 6 months to 9 months, once we start to see the effects from businesses of how they've been over this period of time. So I think there's always risk involved, but again, if it's a plan and it's patience. I'm investing in 2 shares at the moment, and it's a 15-year idea, but I'm scared of what the market's doing at the moment, right? But I know the price is good, and it's like, $200 a fortnight, $200 a fortnight, $200 a fortnight, $200 a fortnight. I don't want to think about it. It's a long-term play. I don't want to get too emotional about it. It's all about, it's all about the skill of just doing that consistently. And then eventually the market will go through ebbs and flows. You ride the waves up, and hopefully your timing's okay when you need it on the back end. Because notoriously, every time everyone's in a heightened delusion on how good the market is, it comes off. Might be 7 years, might be 10 years, but it runs in cycles, and you can't predict the bottom, you can't predict the top. But what you can do is you can have a good savings plan that can grow for you over time. So that would be something, that would be something on, to consider on that. Otherwise, if you're looking at cash, like ING, have a good little account where you can earn a little bit of interest on it. But really the interest you earn, it's very safe, but the interest you earn is very nominal on those types of accounts, but no risk as well. So I'd be educating myself in the share market or talking to a planner that can help. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So what's your opinion on negative gearing, and do you think it's on the government's chopping board given the current environment?
I'm a business owner, so negative gearing's really anti-intuitive to me, because I like to make money, and I like to pay tax, because I think just from the point of view, you can do something with your tax on the back end of it, right? But I go, negative gearing to me is very anti-intuitive. I think you can, neutrally geared's all right, as long as you can add back depreciation and things like that. But negative gearing, I find, I don't know, if something goes amiss with your income, how do you, and the rent's not enough to cover, how do you keep that asset? Because the only time people really get burnt in investment is when they need to sell, because either something happens where they've lost their job, or the income's not coming in that used to come in. So for me, I'm always looking at, if something happens to me, does the investment stand up? And I know that's tough. In capital cities, it's near impossible, but there are certain areas that you can still get neutrally geared and positively geared property. Might not be by much, but you want to, it starts where it ends, right? You want to, everyone's thinking about capital growth and things like that, and that's fine. If you're on 200 grand a year, 150 grand a year, but I'd be thinking I want to add to the kitty rather than taking away from the kitty. So again, it depends on your tax bracket, but and the other thing I like thinking about is, how can you create positively geared properties? Like, maybe the block can be subdividable, and you sell off the back of the land, put it into the debt on the front house, and now it's positively geared. Plus, you've built equity into the property. So things like that. Nambour's a good one, Joel. Out your Sunny Coast way, where I used to live, like, it's close. I've always had didn't have a great reputation. I don't know why, but it didn't. But it's 10 minutes from Maroochydore. Maroochydore is doubling in size in the next couple of years. international airports going in, a lot of trendy cafes popping up, schools, hospitals, and there's still blocks there, 3,000 square metre blocks that you can put 6 townhouses on. So even if you found a property worth, 300, 350 grand, but you look at it in 10, 15 years time, and you go, all right, that property's now worth maybe let's say it's worth 600, 650, but now you can subdivide it into, 6 allotments, 7 allotments. You go, all of a sudden, it's very, very lucrative. But in the process of that, it's land banking, but you're still positively geared. So you're still going to get, 400 grand rent per week or 380 grand rent. So it still can be positively geared. And with interest rates so low, it's, lock it in for 3 years, 2.29, 2.3 on investment might be higher, 2.69, but still that rate is a really good rate to hold the property, brings a little bit of money in, puts $20 a month in your pocket, you claim the depreciation, you claim the interest back, so you get a little bit of benefit on your tax as well, which is fantastic, money into the mortgage, and so it's a long-winded answer, isn't it? I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm more for neutrally or positively geared. Purely, I think it could be, if you have too many negatively geared properties, you could be capped out very quickly, and if something goes amiss, you're vulnerable, and then you lose the very asset that you bought to build wealth on. So yeah,
that was an awesome answer. That's exactly how I feel. I never understood why anyone would want to lose money. It just didn't make sense. So I lost enough money learning how to be a businessman. I didn't want to do it as an investor. So
we've all lost money. We've all lost money and made money, and it sucks. It sucks when you lose it. And, but the thing is, you certainly learn from it. And mistakes I made in my early 30s, I just don't make now.
Nice.
But because you learnt the valuable lesson, right?
That's like just a kind of a statement. What do you think about this? Like, probably one of the things I notice with a majority of people out there when they're wanting to build wealth is their fear of making a mistake. And like, I was so frightened for so long to make a mistake, I just wouldn't do anything. So I'd never even get in the game. And what I've realized now is I'm going to stuff things up. So I might as well be swinging that bat. Like, do you have anything to say about that for people?
Yeah. And I think get the right advice. I can't tell you how many investors that are now investors that I chatted to, like, that were scared. Like, they were in great positions, earning 100 grand. They paid down their house. They wanted to invest, but they're petrified and scared to make the right move. But I find once you get the knowledge of what it takes and what the real impact is, and you understand the numbers behind it, then it gives people a level of comfort to make that decision. So you might have other investors that you might have a good accountant, a good broker, but it's about getting the right advice to educate yourself on in being able to make that move. And look, nothing happens in fear. At the end of the day, there's not. But I also think like people say, you should jump off a cliff without a parachute. I don't think that's wise. That doesn't always end well. You build it on the way down or not. So I think you want to get the parachute on the way down, and that's get the right people around you. Talk to fellow investors that are doing what you really want to do. Build a tribe of collaborative tribe of people that are all excited about doing these things together, and learn off each other like you're doing here. Like, set up a Zoom meeting with investors and talk about investment and who do you use. It's like warm referrals, and you build yourself as a tribe, and you build your knowledge as you go, because it can be very isolated. I always say, isolation is the enemy of excellence. If you're too much stuck in your own head and you can't see out of it, it's very hard to then take that step. Whereas if you get the information, too much information is dangerous too. Like, there's a sweet spot, right? You still need to make that move, get enough information to feel secure, take the step, and then at some point you got to draw the line in the sand. You got to jump even with that parachute, right? So it's but get the education, right people around you, And any concerns you have, there's always an answer of someone who's done that before. So, seek them out, Google it. Yeah. And then, then make a call. That first one is always, and the hard bit is once someone buys their first investment property, then they want to buy 4 and 5, right? Because they get it. Once you understand how the first plate spins, then it's like, and then the real problem is trying to stop all the plates spinning so they don't crash it. It's like people get overexcited. So it's like have a steady plan, patience game, nice blueprint, execute on the blueprint, and in 15, 20 years' time, you're going to be in a really strong position if you do it well.
Yeah, awesome advice there. I literally found some older guys that were really into property, and they had done a lot more than me, and I just asked them how they did it. And basically what that conversation led to is when deals came along that weren't exactly a great fit for them, they knew enough about me so they could just say, hey, there's an opportunity down on this property. You might want to have a look at it. And you start getting all these investment emails and opportunities. So, and they told me how to talk to the banks. They said, don't go into this, make sure you got this. Otherwise they'll think you don't know what you're doing. And they would have been right. I didn't know what I was doing when I started. So just don't let that stop you. I still don't know.
And we all don't know in the beginning, in anything, in any pursuit, whether it's starting a business, it's it's all learning through action ultimately. But again, you can make sure that you don't get hurt along the way by just doing it's amazing how little people sometimes do in regards. There's so much information out there, but just make sure that you plan it out and get the information you need to make that decision so you feel strong in that decision, but take that step. There'll be a point where you need to take that step. Otherwise you'll just always be in avoidance, because it's natural. As soon as you go into something a little bit uncertain, worry, fear and doubt, let's go back here. Feels better, safer. So eventually you've got to get the education, the information, and then make that commitment to your future.
Amazing. So a lot of people, Sharon still works part-time to bring in regular money to supplement the income while she grows the business. But she's noticing a huge contrast in the way she feels when she works on her own business compared to the paid work. It's like following my bliss versus my grind. How can I embrace my situation, not spread my energy too thin and build momentum?
It's a great question. I get that one. It was. I remember leaving the bank when I was 28 years of age, and now when I look back, I go, that was not it doesn't seem like a difficult decision from now knowing what I know. But back then, it was excruciating, and I knew what I wanted to do in mortgage broking. I was excited about it, and it ended up being a 6-month plan. So this is the parachute again, right? So I go, okay, how am I going to transition into doing the thing I really want to do, and what's it going to take? So I actually mapped it out, and I said, all right, well, I need to have 6 months of income to survive, base income, just to survive, just to eat, breathe, get through. So I know that I'm not going into this business and I'm going to suffocate as soon as I start. So when you're in both camps, you're looking for that line in the sand where you're going, oh, my business is now at a point where it's starting to make about 60 to 70% of what I'm earning. And I go, and I say that because you're getting momentum. It's when you feel like this is really holding you back, this job's holding you back, and it's stopping the momentum. But don't do it from a point where there's hardly any income and you're at this point when you really need it, because you really need some level of backup money in that case to make that transition. Might not need to be 6 months. I say 6 months, could be 3. But if you're in both camps, I would say once you're getting momentum in the business and you can see that this is stopping you from taking that next level in the business, then I think you're doing the intelligent thing. Because again, you could go, yeah, I'm following my passion. Absolutely follow my passion. Now, what's for dinner? Oh my goodness, I'm going to sell something. And then the desperation hits in your sales pitch, in the way you conduct yourself. So I always wanted to bake beans on toast. I like, yeah, absolutely. And we'll do what it takes, right? But I think you really want to get to the point where you're just going, okay, this is now becoming a burden to me growing this business to the next level. But I think it's smart to actually have those levels, level of the business come up. And there'll be a point where in your heart, and I knew it in my heart, I go, I have to do this. I have to take this step now. Because if I don't, I could be in this other role for the next 20 years. And I was nowhere near as happy in that as to the excitement of this. So it's, you'll know when you're drawn forward to go, now is the time. You've got to make that call at that time. And that's the best bit of advice. You'll know that for you. I knew it for me. I had guys that came into my business, that invested into my business. They were on 200 grand salaries, right? And they were still going to get some money coming into this business, right? But they were absolutely panicked because they were giving up that wage, right? And there was a moment where they said, I have to do this. Like, I have to do this. I know that the money's not as much, but I know what I can do. I know this is my future. I know this is my passion. Always more difficult to do it when you're on your own. Always great when you've got business partners around you. But I would say, if you haven't got business partners, again, be around great people like you are in here, and just draw upon that positivity and accountability. Again, it's a matter of self-accountability, getting someone to hold you accountable, and ensuring that it's a must that this is going to do well. You're not going back. I'm never going back to the bank. I never would. I made that decision at 20, 28, 29. And to me, that's more dangerous for me to ever go back into an employment role now, having learnt what I've learned. But at the time, it was the complete opposite. So now I feel more at risk by being in a job than, being in businesses. So it's, but it's strange how that turned. That's a 20-year turnaround. And because now I can create what I want to create, but I also have enough focus in the areas of what I'm good at. And I'm also good at delegating the areas what I'm not good at, because there's certain strengths I have, and of course weaknesses like everyone else. But I have people that are really strong in those areas, and I look for those people to really bolster up those areas. So it's so that way, as a collective, I know the business will be ultra successful by rising together. So I think you're on the right track, but that point will come where you go, I know this momentum I've got in this business is where I want to be. You're doing the practical thing, you're doing the intelligent thing, and but that time will come where you go, now is the time, and I'm all in. When you make that decision, absolutely all in, never turning back. I'm going to make this work better than I'm going to surprise myself. That's the level of accountability and commitment you're going to put into that decision. I knew that. I knew soon as I had the plan of how I was going to do it, it was like, this is it. So this is handing in that resignation form was the happiest day of my life. It was just gold that I could now create everything I wanted to create, everything in my head that I wanted to create now, that was going to serve my clients, that was going to, I can't tell you the adventures I've been on. It's just been, there's too many, and seeing great people do great things. I've seen scared people that were near bankruptcy turn it around and have paid off their house through business, and provided 100 grand each to their kids to start them out on their journey. And it's and usually the big one is confidence. Even when I mentor other people in business, it's confidence is a big one, and capability is a big one as well. But it's mainly confidence. People are much more capable than they realize. I find that I always vocalize my optimism towards someone. So I'll always point out their strengths, because it's very rare that they hear them. And when they've got the negative self-talk going on in their head, it makes them take note, because all of a sudden they go, oh, what does he see in me that I'm not seeing in myself? And sometimes I know that's like, I have one guy, Chris, that I was working with. He hadn't written over 500 grand in mortgages for the last 4 years. He was a school teacher, most lovely guy you'd ever want to meet, and loves education. I'm going, this is financial education, Chris. I go, what you doing? Because he was thinking about going back to school. And I said, no, you don't go back to school until you've earned $100,000 in this job, knowing that you've had the resources to achieve that. And I said, the only difference, and it was only a subtlety. He's very intelligent, very analytical, very good at what he does, great networks, good with people. I said, the only thing that was the difference between him and I was willing, in that last 10% where I was uncertain, I was willing to go into it and be uncomfortable and learn something. He wasn't willing to take that step because of the fear of what people might think of him. He didn't want to let his friends down. He didn't want to let the customer down. And that's what he was doing by not going into that uncertainty and then learning that last 10%. He's now doing $4 million a month. He's earning 130, 140 grand a year. He's expecting his first child. And that was one of the reasons he wanted to go back to teaching. But I could work with him incrementally, and confidence was a big one. Capability, we can build in. But if he's not confident within himself, it's very hard to work through that. So again, if I vocalize, whenever you're talking to people, if you can look for their strengths and edify their strengths, it's amazing what you see in capability that's there that they might not be accessing. And people go, oh, why are you positive towards people all the time? And I said, because when I'm positive and we're doing these things, I can also have the hard conversation as well. Going, it's one thing to have a lack of confidence. There's another thing not to do the work, right? It's a subtlety. But there's a difference between laziness and lack of confidence. So it's just a matter of, once you're vocalizing the confidence, you can have the hard conversation, and, you've got a mutual respect with that person, and you're holding their hand through the process of growth. And isn't that what we all want? We all want nurture. We all want a sense of security as we learn, and we all want to build skills. We all want to be better. I keep learning every day. I'm 48. I learn off the 23-year-olds. I learn off the 55-year-olds. It's, I'm still amazed in the youth and how they embrace technology and how process-driven they are and how hungry they are. And I love it. I love it. I love seeing that, and I learn so much from it. But again, I can also see underneath the bravado is the shy person that hopes they're okay. And I just let them know that they're okay, and we build capability and we grow capability through that. So, yeah.
Beautiful. We've got a couple of questions. Basically, paraphrasing, does your company teach about shares, and where would you recommend them to learn about the stock market? And can you expand on the stock market a bit more, especially to someone who doesn't know much about the market? What would you recommend?
Let's all go to Maroochydore and invest. That's very funny. Why not? But the thing in regards to the stock market, it is volatile, and you have to get a blueprint over the long term. If you're not going to be in it for 10 to 15 years, it's really a long-term game. I think when you're looking at maybe the next, I really think the market's going to come down again, because in the Great Depression and the GFC, there was an initial downturn, then a slight recovery, and then it went down again. And I think we haven't had the reporting coming out from what the companies are doing out of the last couple of months. So, and particularly in the US, I mean, they got 30 million unemployed. I mean, how is that not going to impact? It's going to take a while to turn that around. So I think there's going to be another little wave. But again, you've got to look at a long-term plan around it. And I think in the next couple of years might be a great time to dollar cost average and just slowly get into the market, build up, minimize your risk, a couple of $100 a fortnight, or depending on how much money you're playing with, right? But I think there's a great opportunity to be in there. And like I said, I talked to a financial planner at Inovayt. We have 4 there, and they look at index funds, they look at direct shares, active management, and it's all based on your appetite for risk, how old you are. It's all individually tailored towards the goal you're looking to attain in regards to the investment. So it's I probably personally, because I like investigating companies, I buy into direct shares a little bit more. And what I mean by that is there might be a particular share that I like because I know information about it. I know the managers, or there's something, I'm using the product. And I'll do the research on specific shares that I like. But the best way to diversify is like an index fund where, you can sort of bank on about 6 to 7% depending on the fund. And a lot of planners do that. But again, it depends on individual situation, how old you are. You can be high risk, balanced, moderate growth. You can go conservative. So there's lots of different elements. But definitely we have 4 great financial planners, Tony, 2 Lukes in the office, and Nick, that are tremendous financial planners. And they would be more than happy to have a chat if you want to look at, and also protecting your wealth too, just even insurances on how to protect your wealth in case something happens to you and you can't earn an income, or just stuff like that, basic stuff like that is important, but we don't always want to think about. So, but I think the share market, it's crystal ball stuff, right? But I just have this sneaking suspicion there's another wave of a downturn coming. As to the impact of how much, I don't know. But I'm not. I think I'll like you say, get the shopping bags out. I think over the next 6 months, there might be some really good opportunities coming up. So yeah, but definitely, if you want to talk to a financial planner within Inovayt, more than happy to hook you up and get you to have a chat.
That Facebook link I just put in there is Marty's Inovayt Facebook group.
Yeah, Inovayt Money. We talk all things money. And
it's a good place to go. There's lots of information. The guys are doing videos in there with information like what you're hearing tonight on a constant basis. I'm just in there just getting good information, and you can go take it in your common sense corner and work it out for yourself after that. But it's good. So a couple of quick ones.
Always individual circumstance, right? There's no one right strategy that goes across the board, but look at your individual situation. That's what I would say. Don't take anything as gospel. Just get the individual advice.
So quickly, how would you hold off selling a commercial property for the next few years due to the bugbear that's happening?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I was talking to one of the other directors about this today. We think commercial property is going to be hit. Depends again what type of commercial property, whether it's factory, retail outlet, or office. But I think just with what's going on, I think landlords could be in danger that own commercial property. There'll be some great buying opportunities, but I'm just thinking rents could possibly come down as businesses struggle to come out of this. People may be working from home more, so not as much demand for square meterage for square foot. So it's like, I think that's the big vulnerability. I think residential property will hold up because we all need somewhere to live, and 90% of us will probably hold our jobs in some way, shape or form. So it's like, but yeah, I think it could be less in, even a year's time in commercial. I really think there could be a bigger hit there. I think that's where the 30% hit's going to be.
Okay, so where does Christine go to get the best rates?
Best rates, come to Inovayt. No. Well, again, it's like, I can share it with you guys, but even 2-year fixed rates on your home loan, 2.09 with ING, 2.19 with ANZ on owner-occupied principal and interest, really, really good rates out there like that. Investment rates, hard to beat. ANZ at the moment, interest only 2.69, interest only. Principal and interest on investment, ANZ 2.49, like really, really good, like really good. So yeah, that's a starting point. But come to Inovayt, because we'll again look at your situation, and more than happy to run through that with you and give you some advice around that personally.
And I'm not affiliated with Martin or Inovayt or anything like that, but I know that a guy that before he was friends with Marty, worked with me a couple of years ago, and he, the benefit of having someone like the Inovayt team working for you is they can make things happen that you can't make happen on your own.
Well, we use competitive, the three elements. We use competitive tension within the bank, so we'll price shop the deal, and we'll utilise that leverage because we're a big group. We'll utilise that leverage to get any discounting we can off the rack rates out there in the market. So that's something we do. The other thing we do is we strategise to show you how you can pay down debt effectively, given your circumstances. So that's a really important element, and also to build wealth for the future as well. We sort of want to know your plans and moving forward, so we can address them and look to create a blueprint with you on that type of thing.
Sweet. Okay, well, the final question tonight is, do you think running/building a successful business is worth more than owning many properties as a business? And also, what would have been the best book you're reading on investing? So I guess the first question.
Yeah, I really like business, but I see business as my superannuation, and I see properties as a great way to build upon my business. So it's like, I'm very much I love business. I think I'm still astounded that you can have an idea on a couch and get paid millions for that business. I think there's got to be something wrong with that. It's like, it's amazing. Like, really, one idea and that serves a need that you're happy delivering out there in the market, that's serving people, whatever that is. I don't care if it's finance, it's a product, whatever it is. It's astronomical. I just think I think business is incredible, but I see it probably more as my superannuation rather than replacing investment properties. I feel like investment properties, a lot of wealthy people have built their empires through investing in property as well. I think they go hand in hand, where the business is the cash flow in order to invest into the assets. But the beauty of business is that it's an asset within itself. And like just the other day, I saw that when you have people running business insurance companies that protect landlords and have personal risk or director's risk covered, like that pays something like 9 times on exit to the premium, the reoccurring premium. So for every $1,000 of reoccurring income, you're paid $10,000 on exit. That's just incredible. So I know people that are running, young people that are in their early 30s that are running a book of 1.2 mil in reoccurring premiums. You go, that's worth, it's worth nearly over 10 mil, 11 mil. So I go, that to me is astounding how you can have an idea, and that idea, those numbers are an asset. And that's why you want your numbers to be great. You want a good accountant, you want a good broker, and you want good mentors and guidance, because you really can do anything you set your mind to in business, and you can do it in your own unique way. And that's what I think is, I've always had a lot of heart in my business, in that I've always wanted to look after people and put them in better positions than they were from when they had first met me. That was like, and I still get excited when I see someone that saved money and bought a couple of even if they buy 2 investment properties and they pay out their mortgage over 10, 15 years, they've got that revenue stream, forever and a day. So investing in property is if you haven't got a business, is the closest thing to having a business. So it's gold. But when you've got a business as well as an asset, then yeah, I think you probably should still get the tax benefits of putting it in super. But that's my own little personal thing. I love having access to those assets and money, because again, what are you going to do next with it? What are you going to do next with it? It's like, yeah, it's nimble, it's agile. So I quite like that. But I'm 48 now, so I've got to start thinking about these things a little bit more seriously with super.
So what if you could only pick 2 books to get people started on their financial freedom journey, what would they be?
What are 2 books? I like Steve McKnight's 0 to 1,300 properties in 5.5 years, and people might have come. It's been around for ages, but I like the psychology of it, on how he looks to leverage. And there's updated versions of that as well. But Steve McKnight, if you have a look at his books, he's an Australian and really good investor. So that would be one, just from the principles. He's got an accounting background, and I found that to be really good. And I'm trying to remember the other book, Peter Spam. I think the name is Peter Spam. I can't remember 100%, but it's 0 to 10 million in property in 10 years, and that was another really good book that I had read a while ago. And again, there might be better ones out there, but they're my holy grail of when I first started investing. And I just loved those books. So
amazing. So Marty, any parting wisdom for because I've already asked you, you've been on a call before, so I usually ask, if there was a billboard and the whole world could see it, what would your message be? So what would it be now?
I'm going to say, make it count. Make it count. Make your money count. Make your life count. Life is about moments at the end of the day. I mean, money to me is like, playing with Monopoly. It's a skill set. It's fun. You get to play every day. But at the end of the day, it's about giving people freedom and having more moments in life. So my real human advice is, don't miss those moments. And because people pass on, people die. It's like there's a cycle of life, and it's just really it's being excited about the moments. Like stuff like, sometimes I play Monopoly with my son and I just look into his eyes and think, wow, like that's extraordinary. Or you might hold your wife's hand or your partner's hand and just have that moment. Or you see the light go on in your customer's eyes when they get it. They get it, that they can see their future where they didn't see it before. There's just those, be present in those moments and enjoy those moments, because they're the memories you'll always carry with you into the future. And money's a part of that. And money provides security. It provides protection. And like the old adage goes, love people, use money, but never get that the other way around. Use people, love money. So it always comes back to, taking care of each other. So that's it for me.
Mate. Thank you so much. And I'm going to put it out there. We're going to get some of your team on, get you on a couple more times. This has been brilliant. I loved it. I took heaps of notes. So thank you so much, and see you guys next week.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate the opportunity. Take care.